Hello there, friends, and welcome to episode 24 and the beginning of Mario Month on That One Gaming Podcast.
Let's go.
Let's go! I'm Colin, otherwise known as Delicious Morsels, and here today we've got Lucas, aka Carnival9. How you doing today, Lucas?
Doing good. Got fresh carpet in my office and furniture
Woohoo!
rearranged.
Nice.
Yep, my classic gaming setup has moved from next to me to behind me, but it freed up room to have a second desk in sort of a corner desk configuration. So for the first time in almost over a year, I think, I have my beloved compact Presario Windows 98 setup.
That is very convenient to have. And we've also got Neal, better known as VMK89. How you doing over there, Neal?
I'm doing good. My desk setup is exactly the same, though.
Yeah, mine hasn't changed either. I can't really do much with mine until I get some more actual living space.
Understandable.
I could use less magic cards stacked on my desk, but other than that.
Yeah, that might help a little bit.
Oh yeah, I've got a filing cabinet out in the garage I need to move in here for putting my magic cards in.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I mentioned, the month of April marks our very first theme month here on the podcast. And we figured with the Mario movie coming out, this would be a perfect opportunity to do something fun by dedicating an entire month of episodes to Mario and Mario things. So let's go! If you are new to this podcast, however, welcome. Thanks for joining us on such a momentous month for us. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or one of many other podcasting platforms out there where the three of us get together every other week and we talk about a variety of topics in the world of gaming. And this week, we are also introducing a new recurring episode theme where we pick a specific genre of games and have a discussion about it. And to kick off Mario Month here on That One Gaming Podcast, we chose Mario's home genre, platformers.
Yay.
Yeah. Arguably one of the most popular genres of the 8 and 16-bit eras of gaming, thanks in no small part to our favorite plumber in red. The object of most platform games is to move your character from the beginning of the level to the end, oftentimes moving from left to right while utilizing the ability to jump and climb to maneuver around obstacles. Once games entered the 3D era, the genre would begin to kind of ditch the left to right movement in favor of sprawling open zones for the player to explore. And we're going to discuss that and more later. But before we get into that, at the front of our episodes, we like to take some time to talk about what we have been playing over the last couple weeks. So, Lucas, what have you been playing? I bet it was Mario.
Yeah. Did a 96 exit playthrough of Super Mario World. And,
Brave.
I also am still binging on Metroid Prime.
That does not surprise me.
Yep. I just completed my 5th any percent playthrough on casual difficulty, and my PB for no glitches natural route is down to 3 hours 29 minutes, and I think it can go down further because of a bad routing decision on my part. Turns out I was looking at my GameCube route and made the realization, oh yeah, I can do better from getting the ice, or to the ice beam and back to getting the gravity suit. Because let's just say, as far as routing goes in Metroid Prime, if you can avoid going into Chozo Ruins, it's faster.
Huh.
So yeah, it's probably going to be faster to take Talon Overworld to Magmore Caverns than going back through Chozo Ruins to Magmore Cavern to get back to Phendrana Drifts. Especially because the Chozo Ruins route takes you right past the elevator that leads, or for Talon Overworld into Magmore Caverns. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, my copies finally came in over the last, I think they got here about a week ago. I haven't had a chance to sit down and play the game myself yet, though, because I've been playing so many other things. But apparently, because the reason I bought the Japanese in addition to the North American release of the game was because I wanted the Japanese cover art, only to find out after I placed the order for both copies of the game that the North American cover art was reversible. So I was like, okay, well, now I will just keep the North American version sealed for value purposes later on and open the Japanese version to play that version. I opened the Japanese version and the Japanese cover is reversible too. I played myself so hard with that.
That's okay. We love Metroid around here, so
I'm not even mad about it. I did it for the love of Metroid.
yeah.
I mean, it was either I probably would have double dipped on the game regardless, because I mean, if I didn't buy 2 physical copies of it, I probably would have bought a copy digitally to play while I waited for the physical version to come in. So I'm not mad. It's just
Yeah.
it's just it was so funny at the moment I opened that case and I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." Because there was no real indication that the Japanese version would mirror the North American like that, because like Nintendo Japan doesn't always necessarily do what Nintendo North America does, and
Yeah.
vice versa. Like that was a whole thing. Like, yeah, they're all under the Nintendo umbrella, but like Nintendo North America, Nintendo Japan, Nintendo Europe, like they all still operate individually of each other.
Yeah.
As far as like what games get released in their regions and what those games include. That's why you get like different pre-order bonuses depending on what region the game is from and stuff like that. Or you get games that are only released in Europe and Japan, but not North America for some reason. I'm looking at Xenoblade Chronicles back on the Wii, which we had to fight very vocally for to get here.
Who cares about that? Mother 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like
Mother 3, Reggie. Then we get set on fire.
Yep. Even Terry Crews wanted Mother 3.
right. But yeah. So yay, Metroid. I will say I've finally seen the North American version showing up at retail around here, finally.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so they're finally getting some copies out there. But I just think it was really cool seeing a Metroid game be sold out constantly for the first couple of weeks after release.
Yeah.
Partially Nintendo's fault for underestimating demand, but at the same time, they underestimated demand, which for Metroid, that's great.
Yeah.
But what about Neal? What's Neal been playing?
Well, I've been playing a couple things. First of all, Mario World. I am very glad that got a rewind feature. As I probably would be rage quitting a lot more.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I the first time I actually like beat Super Mario World without just doing the like skip through Star World was when I played it through it on the Switch Nintendo Online, just because the rewind kept me from getting all those game overs I usually get halfway through the game.
right.
It's very useful.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
thing is, like, unlike Zelda when I was using the rewinds, it wasn't really necessarily things that I couldn't do. Like in Zelda, I would get to points where it would just be like, I'm not very good at this kind of game, and that's why I'm failing.
Right.
It's more just like I can play Mario, it's just because I go through it or I die a lot more than it allows, I would have to restart more often.
Right.
yeah.
So basically, I'm just giving myself more forgiveness with deaths.
Yeah.
But
Life's on a home console game are kind of silly.
Yeah.
yeah,
I understand it was the Mario formula at the time, but
yeah, and it definitely is the downfall of Sonic games. Which, when we get to the That One Game episode, we're gonna be comparing, at least from my perspective, Sonic and Mario.
Yeah,
It's kind of unavoidable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we might even do a little bit of that here today with our just general discussion of the genre.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, they're the biggest platformers that are known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, honestly, they're just the biggest video game characters to be known, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have not just been playing that, though. Sonic Mania. I picked up Sonic Mania a little bit.
Nice.
Just playing through a couple stages with various characters on my saves. Forgot how fun that game is. It's kind of weird that, I don't know, Sonic Mania is a weird game for me. Classic 3D Sonic games, I know like the back of my hand for the most part. CD, not as much, but 1, 2, and 3, I know all those stages really well. So going into a gameplay that's almost exactly identical and not knowing the stages, not knowing what's coming up, it just kind of throws me off a bit. And I don't know if I like it, honestly.
Yeah. It's kind of that way the first time I played the Super Demo World, the Legacy or the Legend Continues ROM hack for Super Mario World. It's like, this is Super Mario World, but it's not.
Yeah.
You just gotta play it enough to where you recognize it the way you recognize the classics. Because I mean, you've got your entire life playing the classics versus like, but that Sonic Mania is like 8, 9 years old now.
2017, so 6.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even less than that. Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
like 2014 for some reason.
It's like that one scene in Wayne's World where they're in the TV studio and Garth's like, hey, that looks like Wayne's basement, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah, I still gotta sit down and play Mania myself.
It's good.
Yeah,
We
me
might do
too.
it for that one game. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I figured as much, so I actually just wishlisted it on Steam.
Yeah, I've got it free through PlayStation Plus. They gave it away like 3 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just been sitting in my library on my PlayStation, so I can play it that way. But I still want to get a physical copy, probably for the Switch. Maybe I'll pick one up when I pick up Sonic Origins Plus when that comes out in June.
Yeah. I couldn't find a physical copy myself, but I was just looking at local stores. So you probably want to go the online route.
I see them at Walmart all the time.
Okay, but is that Sonic Mania Plus?
Probably.
It's just Sonic Mania? Or is it the
I think
bundles?
so.
Because I see
I
bundles
think it varies.
everywhere.
Okay. It's probably it's probably the bundle then.
Yeah, the bundles just...
The one with like All-Star Racing or something.
Mm-hmm. They've got one for All-Star Racing
Yeah.
and something else. I forget what the other thing is.
Yeah.
Make sure you get Plus if you're getting the physical, because that's what you want.
Yeah. Sonic Mania.
Sonic Underground.
Part of where I picked up Sonic Mania is because I got to the first Titan in Sonic Frontiers. And I'm not doing great. I get the parry move somewhat, which is how you avoid his big attacks.
Yeah.
But the one where he grabs you, I don't know what telegraphs that he's going to do it.
Huh.
And every time I get grabbed, he chomps you. And you have to mash Y to prevent it. And I can't mash Y fast enough. So
yeah, those fast button mashing moments in games are when I literally like set the controller down and instead of like trying to mash it with my thumb, I take my index finger and then just like freaking just bash the hell out of the controller.
Yeah.
I was trying to do that too.
Because my thumb does not work fast enough. And a lot of times like I'll kind of like use the hand that's holding the controller still and kind of move it back and forth as I'm pushing it. So there's kind of like a double motion there sort of thing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd have an easier time if it was a different controller, but the Switch Joy-Cons have such small buttons.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If this were a Sega Genesis 3-button controller, then you just
yeah, right?
Yeah.
That'd be way easier. Except I don't
Yeah.
think that's how.
Just do the old spin dash rev.
That's not how QuickTime events would work on the Genesis. If they did that, it would be forced to be one button.
Yeah.
So, and then also Mario Kart. I didn't talk about Mario Kart last time because there's been a new wave, and I forgot about it last episode. Until like halfway through the episode when Mario Kart came up. Yeah, these Mario Kart the new wave, even more improved. This is honestly the best one so far. Graphics wise, music wise, there are some pretty good tracks here. Notably, there's 3 tour tracks.
Huh.
We get Amsterdam Drift, Bangkok Rush, and Singapore Speedway. Amsterdam is pretty similar to some of the other ones. There's a underwater section, but for the most part, it's just like, okay, we're driving through a city again. It changes each lap. This is how you expect these levels to go. Bangkok Rush is more of that, but there's also a section that's on a river, which is really cool.
Huh.
Yeah, you're literally driving through a river, and then there's like boats with oars on the back of them that you can drive up like a ramp.
Wait, hold on. What's the level called?
Bangkok Rush.
Oh my god. That's a Rush reference.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah, there's a Rush song called A Passage to Bangkok.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if they
Mario.
did that intentionally, but that is
I'm not
headcanon for
sure.
me. That is a reference to Rush now.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love it. Do.
Oh, I've definitely heard that song. Yeah.
Sorry. Got Rush in the head now.
Yeah.
I love Rush.
Rush is a good band. I
Yeah.
haven't listened to a ton of them, but what I do hear, I'm like, this is good.
I am so happy I got to see them twice before they retired.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm still kicking myself for not just biting the VIP ticket pricing to go see him on R40. Should have done it.
Yeah.
And like the VIP ticket prices weren't even that bad. I just didn't feel like spending $100.
$100 to see Rush VIP? What?
There was something like that.
Oh my god, that would have been great.
It was something I could have afforded but did not want to. For some reason.
Yeah, that's like me and the last time My Chemical Romance went on tour before they went on hiatus.
Yeah, I'm mad at myself for that one too. Thanks for reminding me.
It's like I could have bought tickets, but I was like, nah, I'll just see them next time.
Yep.
And then like after that tour, we're like, yeah, we're done. It's like, ugh. And now they're back. And now they're back, but good luck affording tickets, buddy.
Yeah. I arguably
Holy
had
crap.
it worse because my mom, dad, and sister had tickets, and I was offered, hey, if you change your mind, want to go, we'll get you a ticket. You can come with. It was like, nah, I don't want to go see this band that my sister likes that I don't like because my sister likes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then Danger Days became one of the like car ride CDs, and that album is fantastic.
It's so good.
And it's like, okay, My Chemical Romance is actually really good, and I'm stupid for hating them because my sister liked them. I'll definitely see them next tour.
Nope.
Then they released Conventional Weapons, which was like a compilation of Danger Days B-sides, and then they announced that they were done.
Yep. Yeah, those Danger Days B-sides were really good too.
Yeah.
I think those are the ones I'm thinking of. They might have been, or maybe they were Black Parade B-sides, the ones I'm thinking of. I don't know. My Chemical Romance is great, but holy crap, their tickets are expensive now.
Yeah.
Gotta make up for all those years they weren't getting ticket sales by not touring, by making the prices of the tickets cost as much as they would have been.
Yeah.
All those years combined. But anyway, back to Mario Kart.
Yeah. The third level, that's a tour track, is Singapore Speedway, which is amazing. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not very much of a city. It's like a tourist attraction. Like there's I don't know, some kind of like tourist water park almost. Just like a theme park that you're driving through. I don't know enough about Singapore to know if it's actually specifically one thing in particular. I imagine some of it's just like landmarks. So that's how most of these things are. But there's a lot of flying and a lot of driving through swimming pools and geysers and all sorts of crazy stuff. But then, as for remake tracks, we get Mario Kart or Mario Circuit from the DS, which is okay. It's got Goombas on the ground. It's a Mario Circuit. It's got an interesting thing that threw my dad off, which is piranha plants shooting fireballs. My dad had no idea piranha plants could do that.
Oh, yeah, they did that in Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah, and Super Mario 1, I think.
Nope.
What did they say? No? Okay.
Yeah, they're just garden variety.
Yeah, but they don't do it in Mario Kart very often, so...
Nope.
My dad was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Where are those fireballs coming from? But yeah, the other track they have is Riverside Park. That's from the GBA. And man, this one does not seem like a GBA track at all, which is nice because a lot of the older tracks that they were doing felt very flat in these DLC waves. This one's got like piranha plants walking around and juggling items, and then you go up inside a mountain, and the terrain changes to a cave, go down a waterfall. Very neat. DK Summit from Wii is back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is kind of like the most underwhelming.
Oh, no.
And I think it's really just that they didn't add anything to it.
Oh.
It's more like
it's just the same track, yeah. Like it's a good track, but it's like we played this on the Wii already.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how that would be underwhelming.
Especially since me and my dad played the Wii game right before we got Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was already out when we were playing the Wii. So like pretty much immediately we got Mario Kart 8, and we've never really stopped it too much because they started doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, they also took out the Miis. There's no Miis. Snowboarding,
Aww.
it's Shy Guys, which is lame.
Yeah.
Because that was part of the cool part about Coconut Mall and DK Summit was, hey, that's Obama snowboarding.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's the other one? Oh, there's two more. GameCube Nintendo Waluigi Stadium is actually fantastic.
Cool.
I never really liked that track too much on the GameCube. Felt like it was one of the weaker ones. Yeah. But they added a anti-grav segment that you can only get on by jumping off the edge of the tube that you go through, or half pipe kind of thing.
Yeah.
You jump off the corner, and if you do it just right, you can land on an anti-grav track that's like above raised that you can also drive under.
Nice.
And it's really cool. We have not figured out exactly what the fastest way through it is in time trials, but we're having a lot of fun trying to get to it.
Yeah.
And plus they added lots of little ramps, little bumps in the ground so you can do tricks. So, but last but not least, for sure, is Yoshi's Island. Yoshi's Island is fantastic. The cover they did of the Yoshi's Island theme, it's great. Aesthetically, it looks like the Yoshi's Island games. It's got that pastel crayon
cool.
feeling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you drive around the whole mountain. There's a part where you jump over the volcano. There's even one of those floating question mark cloud things flying in the air. And if you hit it, it makes a little platform that takes you around the last part of the track in the air. And there's one of those flower circles that are at the end that you can drive through. And I forget exactly what it gives you, but it gives you a boost of some kind. Some kind of benefit. And we've only done it once because it's really hard to hit that.
Yeah.
But it's a cool track. Absolutely recommend that one. If you're playing Mario Kart 8 online, you can get all these tracks. So vote for Yoshi's Island because it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the 8 tracks, and I'm really liking them. Other than
Nice.
DK Sun.
It's
But
not
yeah.
so much it's a bad course, it's just underwhelming for
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. And I mean, Mario Kart always has some of those tracks,
Yeah.
so I can't be too mad. But at the same time, I mean, that was a really good track. They couldn't have added like anti-grav at some point or something.
Yeah.
So Colin, what have you been playing?
I've been playing quite a lot over the last couple of weeks. I keep bouncing between games, but I actually managed to wrap up a few. I've finally sat down and I finished A Space for the Unbound this week.
Nice.
And that game gets freaking wild with the narrative toward the end. It's like there's only like 5 chapters plus the prologue at the start of the game. So it's not a very long game. I think it only took me about 10 or so hours to finish it. But like every single chapter, there's this huge plot twist that just keeps compounding and compounding onto itself. And by the end of the game, you're just like, wow, what just happened? It's like it's really, really emotional. And yeah, I think it's one of the better games I've played this year, especially coming from a little indie studio. I would definitely recommend it
Cool.
to anyone. It's such the gameplay itself is really laid back. I mean, I mentioned the first time I talked about it, it kind of plays like a point and click adventure game in a way where, I mean, you're not actually literally pointing, clicking, controlling like that. Like you do have movement of your character from left to, you walk left and right to each screen and stuff like that. But where I draw that comparison is just kind of in how like puzzles are solved. Because it's all like contextual, like clue based puzzles sort of thing. Like you pick up an item and that item is used to solve a specific like puzzle scenario sort of thing, just like stuff like that. And then there's a little bit of a combat mechanic that it gets into that's pretty fun. It's just like just pressing button combinations like in a fighting game type thing. It's not like super crazy or anything difficult like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the focus on the game is in the narrative, and that's where it just wins with like I don't want to say anything about it because it's like really one of those things that is worth going into that just like you know as little about it as possible because the way it unfolds and surprises you around every corner is so worth the ride through it. It's available on literally everything. Go check it out because I can't recommend it enough. And I've also been working on Final Fantasy 14.
Nice.
I haven't had a lot of time to play it this past week, but since our last episode, I did finish A Realm Reborn finally, and I am now in the patch content that kind of bridges A Realm Reborn into Heavensward, the first expansion. So I'm working on that right now. I guess my next major boss fight type dungeon that I'm working up to is against Leviathan, so that's going to be fun. Get to fight a giant serpent god. And like they call the summons in the game, they call them primals. And they have been every single one so far that I've played in the main scenario has been really, really fun fights. I think A Realm Reborn, you fight with Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda. And then now I'm fighting Leviathan soon. It's just Final Fantasy 14 is really good. I'm glad I got it running on the Steam Deck and can take it pretty much anywhere I have an internet connection because that makes it a lot easier to play it, honestly. Because one things I just didn't like about MMOs that always kind of bounced me off of it was I was always glued to my computer desk, and I just don't like that. I like being able to hang out in a more comfortable space, play it up on my TV if I can. It's like stuff like that. So
Yeah, that was one thing I really enjoyed about Phantasy Star Online 2 back when I was playing it, is that it had like baked in Xbox 360, Xbox One controller support.
Yeah,
So,
like being able to control an MMO with a controller is such a huge boon for the genre. Like,
yeah,
sure, it's not as technically optimal as having a keyboard where you can have like 50 freaking hotkeys on screen at a time to press through and stuff like that. So you're not gonna do the high tier content as effectively with a controller, but playing through the main scenario and just like general dungeon crawling and stuff, it's perfectly fine. And it's a really fun experience.
honestly, even for like PSO Blue Burst, when I like throw together a server to play for a few minutes, every once in a while, I'll always configure it for controller usage because I'm just used to it at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered a fun prospect. That I've got the USB driver for the Wii U GameCube controller adapter set up on my media center.
Nice.
So I,
Play PSO with a GameCube controller on PC.
yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna try to get some done in Final Fantasy 14 this week. I was just like so busy with other games this past week that I didn't really get to it because I also played through Resident Evil 4 Remake last weekend. Like that game, Capcom did it, guys. They made one of the greatest games of all time again.
Yeah.
Like not like, oh, they've made the greatest game of all time again. Like they made another greatest game of all time. No, they took arguably one of the greatest games of all time that always comes up on these lists. And then they just made that game again.
Yeah.
But they did it in such a clever way that because there's a lot of like with Resident Evil 4 specifically, there's a lot of like, does that remake need to really exist sort of thing? Because the game itself, I mean, with Resident Evil 2 and 3, it made sense because those games were so limited by the technology of their time, where like they were still running on tank controls and stuff. So remaking them kind of turned them into completely new games in a way, where Resident Evil 4 Remake is just Resident Evil 4 again, but it's so good. Like they've taken liberties with it to keep it fresh. So if you are super familiar with the original, there's still going to be moments in this game that make you go, "Oh, that's new." And they've rearranged certain things throughout the game so that way like everything that happened in the original game really happens in the new version, but they just rearranged the order that they happen in to kind of just make you go, "Oh, oh, that's new." And there's just a whole bunch of that, but the gameplay is so solid and satisfying. Like it's so fun to play. Like, and this week, I think on the 7th, I think they're supposed to be bringing Mercenaries mode back, which is kind of like an arcade style
Oh, cool.
type game where you have a bunch of characters that you can choose from. So you're not just stuck with Leon. You can pick from like Leon, Wesker, Ada. My favorite, or you can pick Krauser, I think. My favorite was always Hunk because he had the submachine gun starting out with. And it just plops you down in a level, and then you have to basically just survive and try to get the highest score that you can with killing a bunch of zombies and stuff.
The
So
original zombies mode.
yes. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that coming back because my brother and I spent so much time in the PS2 version of RE4 back in the day trying to compete against each other in that mode. Like it's so much fun. Like we replayed because one of the levels was the village at the very beginning of the game, and we just sit there and we replay that level like so many times, trying to get a better and better score and stuff. And then like finding hidden weapons hidden throughout the levels and stuff to try to beat each other and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that mode coming back.
Yeah. It's also a pretty popular GameCube title too.
Yeah, I mean, it was a GameCube exclusive when it released.
Yeah. Well, GameCube games are coming back in style.
Yeah, they are. 2 of the highest rated games of the year so far are just GameCube games. That's saying something.
Yeah.
The GameCube had it right.
Phantasy Star Online episodes 1 and 2 plus remake when.
But
I
I've
would play
also
that so much more than PSO2.
Yeah, you probably would. But I've also been playing another game with the number 4 and remake in the title.
Metroid Prime
Mm,
or remake? Wait, no.
What?
No, we're still waiting on Metroid Prime 4 make.
Right? No, I decided it was time to start up another Final Fantasy game to get rolling on my playthroughs of all the Final Fantasy games that I have not yet beaten this year, because so far I've only played through Final Fantasy 2, and I guess I'm counting A Realm Reborn also, because I wasn't initially planning on doing that, but since I beat it, there it is. I finished it. It counts. But yeah, I started Final Fantasy 4 this week. Specifically the 3D remake that was originally for the DS, but I'm playing it on the Steam version, so that way I can play it on Steam Deck. That way I can also play it on my TV. So I forgot how much I love this game. It's probably, depending on how I rank them, it's probably one of my top 5 Final Fantasies. But if I don't cheat and lump 8, 9, and 10 together like I did in our first episode, then it kind of falls out, but it's still up there in the high top 10. It's just Final Fantasy IV is such a good game. The story and the characters, like Cecil starting as a Dark Knight and then like his transformation to a paladin, I said before, I think is just such one of the greatest moments in gaming to me. Just that scene where he casts off his dark self and becomes like a light warrior officially, and just the crazy stuff that they do in this game. I I don't want to really spoil it a whole lot for you guys because we are going to do a That One Game episode on Final Fantasy IV next year. By the way, our scheduling works. It'll be next year, but where we'll talk about it in more depth. So look forward to that. Probably sometime next summer, I think is probably where it will land in that general area there. But yeah, Final Fantasy IV is really good, guys. It's really good. I'm almost at the end of the game now. I can access the final dungeon, but I don't want to go there quite yet. There's one more summon that I want to pick up, which is Bahamut, the
Understandable.
most powerful summon.
Yeah.
And also I just kind of want to grind up levels a little bit before I go in there because I kind of read ahead on my guide, and there looks like there's a lot of like really tough boss fights leading up to the final boss fight, like back to back to back to back type thing. So I just want to make sure I'm a little bit higher leveled than I am right now, just to hopefully kind of coast through that section of the game a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm looking forward to finally seeing the end of this game because it is easily one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, and I own more copies of Final Fantasy IV than I think I do any other because of how many times they've released it over the years. And I just keep buying them but never beating them. I booted up my copy on the DS that I bought like at launch way back in like 2008, so I've had it since then. And I got to where I left off on my first playthrough on the DS version in like 5 hours less time this time, and I don't know where that time went because my party was at the same level I was at on that playthrough also.
Huh.
So, I don't
Nice.
know if just playing the PC version is just faster inherently, or I don't know, but it's weird. But yeah, hopefully I'll be finished with that game this week and I can talk about it later next
Yeah.
week, next episode. My experience finally finishing Final Fantasy IV. But anyway, let's move on into our main discussion where we talk about the genre of platforming and platform games. So, according to the Wikipedia article, platform games, which are often simplified as platformers because that's what they're most known as in our terminology. But platform games, they're characterized by levels that consist of uneven terrain and suspended platforms of varying height that require jumping and climbing to traverse. Other acrobatic maneuvers may factor into the gameplay, such as swinging from vines or grappling hooks or jumping off walls, air dashing, gliding through the air, being shot from cannons, or bouncing from springboards or trampolines, stuff like that. So really, there's a bunch of platforms and you jump on them.
Yeah.
There's your platformer.
Yep.
But
Memory serves, long widely considered to be like the first platformer game was like elevator action for the arcade.
Wikipedia article says Space Panic, which is a 1980 arcade game by Universal, is sometimes credited as the first platform game. Or another precursor from 1980 was Nichibutsu's Crazy Climber, which has the players scaling vertically scrolling skyscrapers. And of course, you cannot forget the classic Donkey Kong arcade game, which Miyamoto originally would refer to it as a running, jumping, climbing game while developing it because the term platformer hadn't quite come about yet at that point. I don't think it really arrived until the late 80s or so when the term platformer was more generally tossed around after we had some more Mario games and Mario clones.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like back in the early '80s, like most of your home console games at that point, like the Atari and ColecoVision and Intellivision, were just like arcade ports of games that weren't always platformers.
Right.
But the platformer kind of like really found its footing with the NES.
Yeah, thanks in no small part to Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Right. That did such an astronomical amount for gaming as a whole, but certainly the genre of games, it really popularized it.
Yeah.
Because after Super Mario Bros, everybody wanted to do Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like veritable Cambrian explosion of platformers and different like varieties of platformers. Not necessarily all like the run and jump variety. Then you'd also get games like Mega Man, which involved shooting, or similarly Contra, and Castlevania, and then you've got explorative platformers like Metroid that would kind of later go on to spawn the Metroidvania genre with thanks to Super Metroid and on the Castlevania front, Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, and I mean, Metroidvanias in and of themselves are generally a form of platformer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like growing up and with like stuff like Super Mario World, obviously, I mean, we're gonna talk about that in great detail
Yeah.
at the end of the month for our conclusion of Mario month with that one game, Super Mario World. But like platformers were so big toward my early development playing games and stuff. Like I remember
Mm.
Super Mario World. I mean, I had Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Genesis.
Right.
My friend had Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
Remember Earthworm Jim?
Yep.
So good. And then like stuff like The Lion King and Aladdin,
yeah.
which were also platformers, but Lion King leaned into the brutal difficulty. Mostly due to faulty game design, I would think.
I
don't
have the
think
Sega Game Gear version of Lion King.
Oh my.
Oh no. Game Gear specifically or Master System?
Game Gear specifically.
Okay.
I don't have a Master System actually yet.
Yet.
I would love to track down a Master System, honestly, just because
Big
I didn't know they existed until very late in life.
Yeah.
But there's speaking of Master System though, in
Oh yeah,
think
can't
it's-
forget about the various Alex Kidd in whatever world games.
yeah. Well, you can play one of them in Lost Judgment because Yagami's got a Master System with a bunch of
yes.
games in his office,
Nice.
and you could pick up a bunch of different cartridges for games throughout the world in
Yeah.
that game. And one of the first
Jeez.
games I think is an Alex Kidd game.
Yeah, if
It's
I
a pretty
remember
interesting
correctly,
game.
I think the Sega Master System version of Sonic 2 actually came out before the Genesis one.
I'm pretty sure
Really?
that's correct too, just off the top of my head. They're totally different games though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
you-
not even really trying to be an adaptation of Sonic 2. Like none of the level themes other than Green Hill are really the same.
Yeah.
And I mean generic
yeah.
factory.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a sequel to the Master System port of Sonic the Hedgehog 1
Yeah.
than it is like being a port of Sonic 2.
Yeah.
And I believe the Game Gear Sonic 2 is the same way.
I'm pretty sure they're just ports because the Game Gear is pretty much a mobile Master System.
Yes.
It's just got screen crunch,
Yeah.
which is kind of problematic.
Unfortunate.
I think you can get an adapter for the Master System to be able to play Game Gear games, and then you can also get a Game Gear or adapter for the Game Gear to play Master System games. It's been a while since I've looked into accessories for these things.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
But I know they're hardware compatible with each other, and you can play one or the other.
Yeah, going back to the Master System Sonic games, Sonic 2 didn't actually feature Tails as a playable character.
Yeah.
That didn't actually happen until the third game that they did, which was not Sonic 3. Called it Sonic Chaos, and it was a completely unrelated thing. Exactly.
I love Sonic. Sonic Chaos is fun.
Yeah. This is honestly where the Game Gear games actually got good.
Yeah. It was like
And then-
Sonic Chaos and Triple Trouble.
Triple Trouble, yep. That had a wolf who had a gun. Knack the Sniper, or what's his other name? He has two names, Knack and something else.
Well, surely it's not Sniper Wolf because that's a Metal Gear thing.
Hold on.
Metal Gear.
Knack the Weasel.
Knack the Weasel, and he has another name besides Knack.
Fang the Sniper.
Fang the Sniper. That's his other name. Thank you.
Yeah.
I found it eventually. Yeah, he's the antagonist in Sonic Triple Trouble. And doesn't really show up much in Sonic other than I think he's in Sonic the Fighters. Yes, he is, because you can shoot the other fighters with a gun in that game
Nice.
as
Nice.
Knack. But yeah, he's kind of fallen to the wayside. He shows up in Sonic Mania. That was his first reappearance. It's not
makes
even
sense.
really him.
Yeah.
It's an illusion.
We also get Mighty the Armadillo, who kind of...
Mighty appears first in Knuckles Chaotix, I think.
It was either that or it was the Sonic the Hedgehog arcade game.
That's correct, yes. There's a Sonic arcade game with a trackball, or not a trackball, but like a ball to control it that you roll, kind of like a trackball. It's weird.
Could you spin it really fast to charge up a spin dash?
I don't think so. I don't think there was a spin dash in it.
Because that would be really cool. To
Yeah,
like have
it
like
looks-
you like hold down a button and that like crouches them, and then you spin the ball really fast to charge up the spin dash, like you're actually spinning them. That would be
yeah, that
cool.
would be neat. But apparently, because it's an arcade cabinet game, I'm pretty sure what you do is you just control the whole game with this trackball. And also, it's really, really hard because it's an arcade game and they want you to put more money into it.
Yeah.
And it's not great. It's also like impossible to emulate because of the controller being a ball.
Yeah, you would need like a X arcade tank stick with a trackball built in.
Yeah.
I actually just remembered that I've got like an old Windows like 98 era Logitech trackball mouse.
Oh yeah, those things were like instead of a scroll wheel or moving with an optical thing, you just for a trackball on the bottom, you just roll the ball around.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
It's
I had one of those on my XP for a while.
It's beige and it matches the outer case of my beloved Presario. In more than one way, because all of this stuff needs retrobrighting because it is so yellowed.
Yeah, my own stuff too.
On the subject of early Windows, though, did you know that the first two Duke Nukem games were platformers?
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then there was a sort of almost spiritual successor to Duke Nukem 1 in the form of the game Miri. It's on Steam. Very much uses that like early 3D Realms block-based scrolling, or I guess Apogee Software, as they would be known for their 2D games. And then, yeah. And also for MS-DOS, there's classic Commander Keen games made by id Software before Doom. And, well, before Wolfenstein as well. And Billy Blaze, a.k.a. Billy Blazkowicz III. Yeah. Anyways, his grandpa is a Wolfenstein 3D guy. And then I believe it's either his grandchild or great-grandchild is Doom guy.
Nice.
And they're all named Billy Blazkowicz.
Huh. Well, we can't talk about platformers and not bring up Kirby.
Oh yes.
My favorite combination brand of vacuum cleaners and platformers.
Yeah, I mean, arguably they're very, very. I mean, the developers have said that Kirby is meant to be like your onboarding for younger audiences and stuff. So they've never been like a very traditionally challenging type of game, but they're just really, really fun. Kirby is a fun character with his copy ability and all that. And it was
Kirby Superstar is flat out one of the best games on the Super Nintendo.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a fun game. I love the samurai mini game.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Then just the main scenario in that game is always a blast to play through.
Well, all of them really.
Yeah.
And like each one of them has their own unique thing to add on to the core Kirby gameplay. Like, your Spring Breeze. It's like a remake of Kirby's Dream Land. And Dynablade, which has a sort of like overworld type thing. There's Great Cave Offensive, where Kirby on an exploration trip ends up trapped in a cave, and you go collect treasures, and it becomes a very exploration driven Kirby game. And Revenge of Meta Knights kind of goes back to a more standard platformer type dealio, but now there's a timer. And you go ruin Meta Knight's day. And then once you beat all of those, then you unlock Milky Way Wishes, which kind of brings back the overworld concept. You've got different planets to go to that you gotta go beat the bosses of, and tweaks the way that copy abilities work, and adds all sorts of fun stuff. And then once you beat that, then you unlock the arena, which is just a boss rush. But it's a fun boss rush. It's a boss rush where you never actually fight Meta Knight with your sword.
But yeah, like I would honestly say as a kid, probably the platformers were my favorite games to play. Obviously, because I hadn't quite gotten into RPGs yet at that time with the Super Nintendo.
There was also the Donkey Kong Country game.
Yes, Donkey Kong Country was also a very, very good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 16-bit era especially was really, really strong for the platforming genre.
Yeah, between the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, this was like peak platforming, really.
I grew up playing a lot of Game Boy Advance games, one because I had one, but before that, that was really the only experience I had with playing games, was because I'd be at camps or school or whatever. Other kids would have their Game Boy. And honestly, there were a lot of just like remakes of 16-bit games on the Game Boy Advance too.
Like the Super Mario Advance series.
Yes. Yep.
Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah, that one was great.
Yeah.
I really wish they just didn't number those.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't even remember what number Doki Doki Panic was, but that's one of the ones I was most familiar with. I was a lot better with that than classic Mario.
I think that was the first one.
Might have been.
I think so.
Sense.
I low-key love Mario 2.
Me too.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The music in that game is just great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I on Super Mario All-Stars in the Super Nintendo, I think I probably I rarely played Mario Bros. 1. I was always either bouncing between Mario 2 or Mario 3 on that collection. So it was they were just so much fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the advanced port for adding so much. It didn't add a ton, but it made it feel a lot more like a Mario game.
Yeah.
Plus, you got Berta going, "This is as far as you'll go."
Yeah. And the 32 by 32 pixel Mega Shy Guys.
Yes. Yeah, I'd almost forgotten about that. Yeah, there was just a lot of cool stuff added into that.
Yeah.
I love that nowadays with indie gaming being such a huge force compared to how it was a decade ago, that the classic platformer is getting kind of a new lease on life with new ideas coming in from all these people that grew up playing the classic ones and stuff, making their own games now.
I feel like Shovel Knight was really
Shovel Knight was definitely a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Cave Story.
Yep.
Yes, we know Lucas Cave Story.
Cave Story.
But I don't know about you guys, but once the genre kind of went 3D, it kind of, for me anyway, I kind of lost interest in it
Yeah.
a little bit. I won't
Well,
say that
I-
there aren't 3D platformers that I enjoy because I mean I do like especially some of the PS2 era ones like the Sly
Oh, yeah.
Cooper series and Ratchet and Clank has
Yeah.
some platforming elements in it, stuff like that. But like that initial jump to 3D when they were still trying to figure it out,
It
Yeah.
was rocky
just
for sure.
Yeah. It
like
was
You
a
have
bit
to
of a
be a
rough
fan.
transition.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
You have to be a fan for those early 3D games of
yeah.
collectathons, for sure.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
like Donkey Kong 64 is notorious for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, as much as they're
Banjo.
beloved, yeah, Banjo Kazooie and
Yeah,
Banjo Tooie.
yep, I couldn't get into Banjo Kazooie because of that. It was just like, too much. But I couldn't get into Mario 64 either. Like I've tried on so many occasions throughout life, just that game just never really struck with me.
That one's one of my favorite N64 games.
It's a really, really good game, but I just like every time I pick it up, I'm just like, I don't
Yeah.
enjoy this.
It's also one of the earliest 3D
Yes.
platformers
Yep.
on the N64. I think.
Yep.
I may be ignorant. I think it was a launch title in North America. It's been a while since I've looked into Super Mario 64 because
Yeah.
the 16
But it
era.
was monumental for its time,
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
honestly kind of an exception to the like badness of the
Yeah.
early 3D platformers.
Yeah, and I mean, still to this day, I mean, I still get that
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I still get that stuck in my head to this day, even though I've never really been one to sit down and really, really play that game because I just never really got into it.
I experienced that game through emulators and at school,
Oof,
so I could never really get into it either.
yeah.
However, I'm sure I've brought up Super Mario 63 was the way I
Yeah.
learned about all those level themes and the music, which is a Flash game 2D version of Super Mario 64. Get it? They subtract 1 from 64 and 3, and you get a 2D 63 game. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's probably the best Mario Flash game out there. And I highly recommend playing it if you can figure out a way to play it nowadays.
Yeah.
But that one took all the level themes and kind of added in the flood from Super Mario Sunshine.
Nice.
But it was also a collectathon, just 2D, which
Yeah.
was interesting. It also didn't have power-ups in the same way as most 2D Marios, and instead you got the power wheel that Mario 64 had,
Yeah.
which is probably why I liked it, just because it was a lot more forgiving about taking hits.
Yeah. And it's not to say all collectathons are bad either, because I mean,
Right.
I have Super Metroid 100% committed to memory.
Right, yeah, no, I enjoy the collectathons all right, too.
Yeah, I mean, if the core gameplay loop is satisfying enough, then you actively want to go seeking out the collectibles. That's one thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the ones that are you cannot progress unless you just run around this level and pick up all these things that are lying around.
Yep.
Donkey Kong 64 did. It's just like,
Yeah. Or you didn't collect the right colored Jinjo in Banjo.
yeah. Yeah, it's like a good collectathon, you would collect them and not notice that you're collecting them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it would just happen because you're enjoying yourself playing the game. It's not something you're like, "Oh, crap, I'm, like, 3 bananas short. Now I gotta go hunt these down."
Yeah.
Right.
I much prefer a missile pack to missing 3 bananas.
Right. And oddly, Sonic Adventure didn't try collectathons, but Sonic Adventure is heralded as one of the worst transitions, even though at the time it wasn't.
Yeah.
which is weird to think about.
Yeah.
It didn't age well.
Yeah. In my experience, I don't really think of the Sonic Adventure games as being like bad 3D platformers.
They're not made well. They're fun, is my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Which is arguably more important than made well, because
Right.
Sometimes the jankiness can be fun.
yeah.
Which is why Sonic 06 can be fun, but let's not talk about that game.
Yeah. That's fun in a broken game sort of way, kind of like
Yeah.
big rigs over the road racing and how you can
Yes.
drive backwards.
Drive backwards and like go infinitely fast.
Yeah.
Because there was like no cap on the speed.
Yeah. It's also fun going infinitely fast backwards in Super Mario 64 because that also doesn't have a cap for its backwards speed. Yeah, I enjoyed Super Mario 64 enough to the point where I at least learned how to do like the 16-star clips.
Making things open world did sort of lead to more speedrunning possibilities. Like we had that in Super Metroid, but like 3D helped make the open world more possible.
Yeah.
Easier to keep track of because you can go, oh, that's where I was.
Yeah.
Like even though it's far away, I can see it and I know where I am. Whereas Super Metroid does it well, but a lot of other like open world 2D games, you get lost and
well, the thing 3D also introduces is like polygons and meshes and stuff you can clip through, which is why speedrunners love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true.
Yep. Like, yeah, clipping through doors with backwards long jumps, or a rabbit, or jump slashing at the wall at a correct angle in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask.
Yeah!
That sort of fun stuff. Or just hop over the level terrain like Sonic Adventure speedruns.
Yeah! Yeah, you can do that in Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah. The trick is you just got to get far enough away that you're not landing on the kill plane attached to the environment.
Right. Yeah, Sonic Adventure Spin Dash was actually really fun to mess around with.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't know the speedrunning tactics, you could get crazy air on that thing.
Yeah.
It was great. Sonic Adventure definitely mastered feeling like the classic exploration of Sonic 3 better than Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 kind of started going towards linearity.
Yeah.
And it got rid of the open world, which it didn't really need to, honestly.
Yeah.
I like the open world adventure.
Yeah. It was almost like a Super Mario Sunshine or Super Mario 64 type approach where there was this city that acted as your like hub world and you could go into levels from there.
Yep.
It's like Princess Peach's castle or
Delfino Plaza.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Super Mario Sunshine?
I love it.
Nice.
It's all right.
I couldn't get into it. I played a little bit of it. I was also bad at it, but
like because I got the 3D All Stars when that came out.
Oh yes.
Okay. And
I sort of also did because Colin gave me a copy.
Yeah. Yeah, those are getting expensive now. Surprise, surprise.
Oh,
yeah.
What was I gonna say? But yeah, I tried for a little while to play through it on my lunch breaks at work and stuff, and then I just kind of fell off it. But it's all right. I don't understand the hate that the game gets. It's different for Mario, but Mario's been doing different things as long as Mario's been a character.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I hear mixed things about that all the time too. Of like some people say it's actually really good, and then you hear, no, those people are wrong. It's terrible. They just have nostalgia vision going on.
I really enjoyed it. Like I thought it was like coming off of Super Mario 64, I thought it was a very good follow-up to Super Mario 64.
Mario goes on vacation.
Yeah. Flood is kind of take it or leave it. I'm not completely torn up over his presence or lack of presence, because there are also like sections of the game where Flood gets stolen from you by Shadow Mario,
Yes.
and
That's
you gotta.
a lot of people who didn't like Super Mario Sunshine say those were the good parts. Like that was really good. But you didn't have Flood.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I thought Flood's like Rocket Pack and Turbo Pack and even just like the regular hover nozzle expansions added a lot to like the kind of Super Mario 64 core that Sunshine had, because then it gives you basically like a jetpack, or you can run turbo speed, or
yeah, like I said, Super Mario 63 had Flood, and
yeah,
it could be some of the best parts of the game when you had Turbo Flood.
yeah. Back to the N64 era, though, like there's definitely also platformer games that weirdly were a complete miss, but then another entry in the same series on a different console, namely the PlayStation, became one of the greatest games of all time, Castlevania.
I had a feeling you were going there.
So I'll lead this off with, I am nostalgic for Castlevania 64. It is not a good game. I enjoyed playing it back in the day. Symphony of the Night is the superior game, though. I mean, there's a reason why Metroidvania is Metroidvania, and it's that sort of explorative platforming gameplay that Symphony of the Night introduced to the Castlevania series. And then subsequently in Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow and its sequel, Dawn of Sorrow, and Portrait of Ruin on the DS, and there's another title on the DS that I'm forgetting the name of, but they're all more of that gameplay style that Symphony of the Night introduced on the PlayStation. And then on the Metroid side of things, of course, you got Super Metroid, the OG Metroidvania, really. Well, Metroid 1, but for some reason, not a lot of people like that game. Almost like it's difficult or something. But and
Just
also
play Zero Mission.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. You chose to play Metroid. Quit complaining about it. If you want to say that it aged poorly while playing it, then like that's entirely your own doing.
Like, the only thing I would argue that did age poorly about the original Metroid was just the lack of a map.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like with how big that world is, it's really easy to get lost on when you're just going screen to screen. So like being expected to have a sheet of graph paper there, like basically an entire book of graph paper there with you to map every single map out yourself as you go. Back in the
Well,
day to like really comprehend it.
that is
Or
kind
just
of how
like get
games
lucky and like
were back then
yeah.
in the NES age. You were expected to look at a book or have a piece of paper. Like there were a lot of games that like were note-taking games.
Yeah.
They've kind of died off.
Honestly, Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there's a Zelda 2D platformer, isn't there?
There is
Zelda 2.
There's a couple more too.
Is there?
Yeah,
Well,
people don't like it when I bring them up because it's the
Oh,
CDI
no.
games.
Oh no! Stop!
See, people don't like it when I bring those up. Yeah, those exist.
Yeah.
They're not great.
I mean, also, Link's Awakening had slight platforming elements in it where when you would go underground, it would turn to a side-scrolling platformer.
That's actually something they inherited from the original Legend of Zelda. But Link's Awakening and also similarly Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons introduced an item called Feather, which let you jump. At least I think it was in Link's Awakening too. It was definitely in the Oracle games because it let you jump over like pits on the overworld,
Yeah.
but also allowed you to do platforming in the 2D sections. As a matter of fact, I think it's the boss in the second dungeon of Oracle of Ages is actually a platforming centric boss. Which is kind of crazy to think for a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zelda isn't really a series you think about for its platform, but also
Not really, no.
It
added more of that element once it got into 3D.
Yeah, and honestly, it did it pretty well.
Yeah.
What it's worth.
Yeah, that was just still another thing with like early 3D games. I mean, I think like for me, it's less of it being specifically a platforming thing and more just like those early 3D games. With platforming, you want good camera control above all else because of you want to be able to get a proper perspective on where you are jumping, where you are going to land, and a lot of those early games didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
I mean, some did.
I actually think Ocarina of Time pulls off the camera better than Super Mario 64
Yeah,
does.
I mean, there are some that definitely got close to being good. Certain, but it wasn't really until you really got full player independent camera control in dual stick games once like the DualShock layout became popularized that like 3D platformers really started to come into their own, so to speak.
Yeah, and GameCube and PS2 eras were really big for that.
Yeah.
Those were much better platforms for platformers, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to top the 16-bit era for platformers, but like after the dip that was the N64, PlayStation, and that third one no one remembers. That third one Colin didn't know existed until.
Yeah. Sega Saturn? What? Is that like an add-on for the Genesis? Like that 32X thing?
Yeah, the thing is, like
Sega CD? You mean Sega published CDs of all their video games? I can listen to the music on a CD player like a PlayStation game?
Side tangent about the 32X, it actually uses the same like dual CPU configuration for the console's CPU that the Sega Saturn used.
Huh.
Just had like a different graphics engine, but like the Sega Saturn almost could have just been a 32X. And they probably would have been fine.
Yeah, it was kind of a stumbling block that they made the 32X instead of just focusing on the Saturn.
Yeah.
Sega was really weird about hardware all throughout their console life. The only time they really hit it was the Genesis.
Yeah.
And even then they were super weird about the Genesis.
Yeah.
Like, let's add all these things on top of it. It's like, no, just support what's already there. You have a good foundation. Just support what's there and work on its successor and only its successor.
Yeah. Interestingly, the Saturn actually did really well in Japan.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah, Saturn in Japan got Mega Man 8 and...
Yeah.
Mega Man X4 and 5. And
Oh, we haven't talked about Mega Man yet.
Yeah,
Mega Man was
Mega
was it
Man.
really one?
Mega Man.
Mega
It was the
Man.
first really good, like really iconic game where you do platforming and shooting. I would say.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the Contra games from
That's true.
Konami, but I think Mega Man has like eclipsed the Contra games as far as
Yes.
popularity.
Yeah. Back in the day, Contra and Mega Man were
Yeah.
both really popular, but nowadays a lot of people will be like, "What's Contra?"
Yeah. Well, it along with Mega Man used to be like the gold standard for a run and gun platformer.
Right.
Yeah. Mega Man games are eternally a favorite of mine. Whether it be like the classic series or the Mega Man X series or the Mega Man Zero series. I still don't know about, or jury's still out for me on the Mega Man Legends games, just because I haven't played a ton of Mega Man 64 yet. Because I was on the N64, and it does have some platforming, but it's definitely more of like a 3D action sort of game.
Mhm.
Right. And I will say, bouncing back to the PS2, a lot of the platforming on the PS2, Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, and to some extent Sly, kind of lead into action more than platforming.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Ratchet and Clank 2 is a platformer,
Yeah.
first and foremost.
Yeah, the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox generation kind of is where like platforming kind of left the forefront of games.
Yeah.
Like there were still like dedicated 3D platformers, but platforming as a kind of just became like more of just your action adventure type games.
Right. And like it was definitely part of lots of games, but it wasn't necessarily the focus.
Yeah. And then the Wii came out.
Yeah.
And
And we
then
got
there was a huge renaissance of Nintendo platformers. Because then you got, well, first you saw it on the DS, but then there was the new Super Mario Brothers games.
Yes. It took off on the Wii because multiplayer.
Yeah.
And that was something everything tried to copy.
Yeah. Nintendo really loved that like 4-player simultaneous game engine that they had built, because I believe that also is like the same underlying multiplayer engine used in Kirby's Return to Dreamland.
I wouldn't be
Probably.
surprised. Yeah.
It's a fantastic game.
I need to play that.
It wouldn't
It-
surprise me if that was also like the base engine that they gave to Retro Studios to work on Donkey Kong Country Returns, which is
Yep.
also incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the Switch version is out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to get it, but money.
Me too.
Return to Dreamland is so good. I think I played through that game in one sitting when I got it.
Nice.
And it wasn't shortly long after that, like gone through all of the levels and collected all of the like collectibles for the final boss. Got all the unlockables unlocked.
Yeah, there's actually a new epilogue in
Yeah,
the Return to Dreamland.
a sort of like Magalore equivalent.
Yes.
Meta Nightmare Ultra mode in Kirby Superstar Ultra.
Yep.
Which was a really cool addition to Kirby Superstar Ultra on the DS. If you haven't played that game, because it's very good.
But yeah, like that 4-person co-op engine is really, really cool. I haven't been able to actually try it out with anyone yet, but I have been playing a little bit of Super Mario 3 no. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been playing through that recently because I picked up a bunch of Mario games on Mario Day,
Naturally.
Mhm.
naturally, as one does. But they had like basically every Mario game on the Switch on sale for $40 a pop.
Yeah.
So
You
I
had a
got-
whole month of Mario coming up after March was done, so you gotta stock up.
yeah. So I got New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, and then I also bought Super Mario 3D Land plus Bowser's Fury. I haven't dipped into that one yet, but I've heard really good things about Bowser's Fury. I've just been kind of whittling my way through Deluxe in the meantime, and that's such a good game. Like just the new Super Mario Bros. Games in general, they're so good. It's like the first time since really Super Mario World that I felt like a new Mario game was like really hitting it on the classic front,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine were good, and Super Mario Galaxy was also pretty good.
I still gotta
Sort
play
of
Galaxy.
continuation of the 3D games, but
Yeah.
then New Super Mario Brothers just kind of nails that classic Mario.
It
platform.
does. And then they add a whole bunch of new powers and stuff. I love the acorn in
Yes.
U Deluxe. It's so much fun.
Become Squirrel Mario.
Become Squirrel Mario. Yeah, that's another thing about a
All
lot
of
of
the classic-
platformers is like all the power-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Mario is like the king of power-ups.
Yeah. The Super Leaf or the Super Feather or the Acorn, the Propeller Mushroom.
Yes.
Penguin suit.
Penguin Suit.
I love the penguin.
Frog Suit, Hammer Suit, Tanuki Suit, Fur Suit, Cat Suit. Mario's a closet furry.
Oh,
He sees
no.
He sees Sonic and wants to be like that.
Do you remember when Super Mario 3D Land was out for the 3DS and PETA got in and it said that it was Mario wearing fur?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
that was dumb.
Why does that not surprise me?
But I will say, the 4-player local multiplayer games got really popular, especially on the Wii, but just everywhere. Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins come to mind as being really good ones. I have
Oh my
Rayman
god,
Legends for
yeah.
the Switch.
I remember playing a demo for one of those in Best Buy.
Yeah, Rayman Legends is so much fun.
It's
And then
great.
they've got like the music synced levels.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my god, the Black Betty level, I play that so much.
Yes.
It's so much fun.
That was the level that they had on the demo console at Best Buy.
Yeah. That's just some excellent level design. And the thing that sucks is we haven't seen another Rayman game since. Like they nailed it. They nailed it. And then they just never made another one.
Yeah, they introduced the Rabbids sub-series, and then it's just kind of been Rabbids ever since.
Well, not even that. Like they've had like Rayman Legends came out after like the Big Rabbids push. So the Big Rabbids push, that was like the late 2000s.
Technically, they've been putting out Rayman games for a little bit. It's just it's confined to mobile.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ubisoft.
Why can't they just make the fans happy?
We
don't need the same Assassin's Creed with a different skin on it. We want Splinter Cell and Rayman.
Oh my god, Ubisoft. How about you take a year off of Assassin's Creed and a year off of Far Cry, and in that year, give us a new Splinter Cell and a new Rayman. It's not hard.
It's like revisit the dive into memories thing of Assassin's Creed, but you dive into Sam Fisher.
Oh my god.
And then it becomes a Splinter Cell game from there, actually.
Cancel Skull and Bones. Make new Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Ubisoft, why are you this way? They were like one of the best publishers of the 2000s, and then
Yep.
Yep.
just something happened, and they've just gone so far down.
They were is the correct way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you guys know that Ratchet and Clank had a 4-player minigame? Or
I did
minigame.
not.
Local platformer game. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank All for One. The
Huh.
PS3. I got a copy of this game, but it was damaged. So I couldn't play it. But it also didn't really play too much like regular Ratchet and Clank, so I was kind of like, that's alright, I wanted a multiplayer Ratchet and Clank experience, and this is more of a platforming game with some Ratchet and Clank elements.
Yeah.
The best part about that game, though, is that initially, you know how they do innuendo for all of them?
Yeah.
Instead of All for One, they were going to go with Foreplay as the name of it.
Oh, they should have.
They should have.
Definitely should have. But yeah, the other one on the PS3 was Little Big Planet. Didn't anybody else play Little Big Planet?
I did.
I never
thought
had a
that was pretty
PlayStation 3.
Yeah, Little Big Planet was fun. It was just I liked the level designer aspect of the game, but that was
Yes.
also when I realized that I was just not good at platformer level design.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, Neal and I were chatting a bit about that beforehand, or you signed on. It was something we were talking about for Super Mario World that got me looking on SMW Central, the Super Mario World ROM hacking website, and it's just like just going on a nostalgia trip of all the different assembly patches and like playing around with lunar magic and realizing how not great I was at making Mario levels.
Yeah. Well, it's like you from the outside looking in, designing a level that's on a 2D plane with a fixed camera angle, you would think that can't be hard, right?
Right.
That can't be hard. I just put some land here. I'll put a couple little boxes to jump over. There, we're done. No. So difficult to actually make something that's playable for A, that's playable, and B, that's actually fun, but challenging.
Yeah.
Yep. You can do fun, some easier than it is fun and challenging. You can do challenging and not fun pretty easily too.
Yeah.
But getting that mix that games have to hit of fun and challenging is very difficult.
Yeah.
And it makes you appreciate, hey, people that make these games are very talented.
Yeah.
Super Mario 63 had a level editor, and it was pretty much the premier level editor for Mario games. It had an online place where you could share them, and there was a whole forum related to it. And I did that back in the day. There's honestly only a couple levels I made that I would say were really good.
Mario Maker before Mario Maker.
Yep, exactly that.
I was so excited for Mario Maker, and back when it came out on the Wii U, and then I bought it, and I was like, "Yep, I'm bad at this. I can't make platformer levels."
Yep, still not great. I mean, there's a lot of people that also like are sort of great, but also not great at level design. It's like Pangaea Panga used to do Super Mario World tassing, and now mostly just does completing expert levels in Super Mario Maker 2 on the Switch type content. And there's a lot of levels that are like super precise but technically doable levels, and then afterwards he'll just like go into the go into the level editor and find a dev room or dev door to just skip to the end, just so that they can publish their super tough level without having to play it themselves.
Huh.
Yep. Yeah, Mario Maker is weird on the front that, like, you have to complete it before you can publish it.
Yeah.
Whereas like if it was based on a rating system, like Super Mario 63 was, you would just be able to filter the good levels that way. And I'm not entirely sure how Mario Maker works with that. Maybe there is a rating system. It's been a while since I watched Mario Maker levels. They've kind of become irrelevant.
Yeah, like players like Ryukar and Pangaea Panga, they're still doing that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's I kind of enjoy watching speedrunning of the official games more.
Right.
A lot of Cosmic and Mitch Flower Power.
Yeah. There is one thing in platformers that almost always is terrible when you get to them, but for some reason they're always included.
Spikes.
No, well, yes, but no. That's not where I'm going. Ice Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Let's
The
let's
dreaded
lump
ice physics.
let's lump swimming in with it as well.
Yeah.
Water worlds.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, how
How did we forget that?
How did we oh my god. Like one of the I mentioned I was playing through Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. And I got to the ice area with what's her face? What's her name? Who's the female?
Wendy O. Koopa.
Wendy. Yeah. Yeah. Wendy's little area in that game is the ice area. And oh my god, I died more times in that area than I did anywhere else in the game up to that point. I started the game playing as Mario and I stocked up like 15 or 16 extra lives. And then I switched over to Luigi, stocked up about half a dozen or more.
Yeah.
Got Luigi down to like 1 life playing through the ice levels. And I was like, switch back to Mario. And by the time I had finished Wendy's castle, I had like 8 lives left with Mario.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Died so many times in those levels.
Yeah, World 6 is a make or break world in Super Mario Bros. 3 for me. I'll either die horribly or I will make it through to World 7.
God, ice physics are just so bad.
Yeah.
Like I like them in like not platformers.
And
Yeah.
on the other end of the state of matter water spectrum, World 3 in Super Mario Bros. 3, the water world is also terrible.
Yeah, water is awful.
I've lost many 100% levels playthroughs of Super Mario World to World 3.
Just the way that the physics in that work, where you are very, very slow moving, where you can rise up a little bit quick, but going back down is a really, really slow process. But yet all the enemies in there, because they're fish, they ignore those rules. They just get right up on you.
Weirdly, water physics is actually pretty unoffensive in a Mega Man game.
Huh.
Yeah. And oddly,
the water sucks in Metroid up until you get the gravity suit.
Yeah. Unless it's Metroid Prime on the GameCube, and then I skip gravity suit.
Oof.
You don't need
stay out of the water.
Honestly, in Sonic games, there's not a lot of bad ice levels either.
Yeah.
Like Ice Cap doesn't really have ice physics.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's the water in Sonic that's
yeah, it's water.
Yeah.
And then they couple it with the absolute anxiety inducing alarm when you're starting to drown.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And the sound as Sonic lets out his last breath.
Yeah.
Will stay with you forever.
Yep.
Yep. And it really sucks when you're standing next to a bubble and you got 2 seconds left and that bubble is coming so slow.
Yep.
You know how many times
you die and that bubble finally appears as he's drowning.
Yep.
You know how many times I've died in Chemical Plant Zone on that that platform that kind of turns into stairs?
Yep.
It kind of
Yeah.
turns into stairs, and then you like just miss it, and then you
Mhm.
have to wait for it to come back around.
Yep. Yep.
So many times.
Yep.
Yeah.
If we ever do Sonic 2, that one game, we're going to be talking about that.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a way to completely avoid that section.
And I always mess up.
Yep. But yeah, water and ice are awful. Ice, especially in Mario, I find is
Yeah, ice.
Yeah.
Mario Ice is.
Ugh.
Give that man some snowshoes
Yeah.
with some cleats on them. Like, come on.
Mega Man Ice
No
is also
excuse.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
Iceman stage and Flashman stage in Mega Man 2 has ice physics. And that's why I do Flashman stage first, typically, is so that I can
Get
just
it out of the
that
way.
out of the way.
Yeah.
Somehow Mega Man 2 is like, it's very easy to beat Robot Masters with the Mega Buster instead of their weakness. It kind of spikes in difficulty afterwards. But they also introduced the Charge Buster in Mega Man 4, so it's less bad.
Yeah.
Mega Man 3 seems to be the problem here.
But no, that is a highly rated game. It's very good because it's highly rated.
And it's my least favorite of the classics. It introduced sliding, which is a cool mechanic, but also it introduced poorly stages that take place between the Robot Masters and Dr. Wily's castle.
Ugh.
It just turns 4 of the stages you played through already into Kaizo versions of those stages that you have to fight.
Ugh.
2 of the 8 Robot Masters from Mega Man 2 in, and that's your bosses.
Uh,
And I assume that's where you get the aforementioned spikes.
Yeah, lots and lots of spikes
why is it
everywhere.
always spikes?
Yep. Like, some of the levels, like Sparkman stage, have like vertical drops in them in the like regular version of it. But then when you get to it in the Doc Robot version of the stage, then those same vertical falling sections are lined with spikes.
Oh.
And sometimes you'll get screwed by a screen transition. It's like, oh, you're falling down a straight section? Well, suddenly the transition happens, and then, oh, you gotta start moving to the left now, or moving to the right.
You know, another thing that we've got to mention in platforming is the jumping.
Yeah.
And how crucial having a good jump is to a platforming game.
Yeah.
Because there are some games where, like, because a lot of times it boils down to, like, timing when you're, like, making jumps and stuff.
Yep.
And if that jump ain't good.
Castlevania.
Yeah.
Castlevania 1, definitely.
Yeah.
To some degree, Super Mario World, especially because there's the spin jump introduced in there.
Yep.
I like never use the spin jump unless I have to use it to break something.
Sometimes I will use that in place of the regular jump because of its like 1 block lower jump height.
Right.
Huh.
That's what I've been doing too, yeah.
That is true. I guess
rewinding to
yeah.
do it perfectly.
I'll have to pay when I sit down to actually play through Mario World again for that episode. I'll have to pay attention to stuff like that because I've just never used that jump except when I need to break something or crush an enemy or something, or like sometimes there's the ones that you bounce off of if you're doing a spin jump on them and stuff like that. But I've never
like
used it.
Tops that climb up the walls.
Yeah, like I've never used it in lieu of the standard jump for height purposes before.
Yeah. It
Comes
is
up
useful.
very rarely, but yeah, there are places where I spin jump where a normal jump would be too high. It also changes cape flight physics a lot, which is also very important if you're trying to be fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of what I've seen of Super Mario World comes from both like ROM hacks videos and also Mario Maker videos. And so in both those cases, they make levels that force you to use that kind of jump to get through, whereas the base game never really did that.
There's actually a secret door to the boss in Forest of Illusion Fortress that is very, very difficult with regular cape flight, but if you spin jump fly, it becomes very, very trivial to do.
Huh.
I don't know how to do the cape flight, so I've just not been doing it at all.
Understandable.
It takes some practice, but once you
Yeah.
get good at it, it's so satisfying.
I would like to get good at it because Sonic Mania's Ray, the flying squirrel,
Yeah.
his ability is basically just cape flight. So I would like to get good at it, but I don't know how it works. And I should probably
Just
look
that
into it.
first level where you get the cape, just spend some time at the start of that level just fiddling around with it. That level in
Okay.
and of itself is designed as like kind of like a tutorial level for the cape because there's a lot of stuff that
Right.
you can get to with it.
Yeah, there's like at least 5 or 6 different stretches of cloud blocks that you can land on.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the secret exit. Unless you get the green switch palace and then you can just run up a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I prefer the way the cape works in Super Mario World, but also it feels like at times the cape flight and just always being able to catch air and just fly over the whole level gets kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Kirby conundrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, you can definitely just fly over the level if you want.
Yep.
That's one of a small number of things like between Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World that I prefer how flying works in 3 over cape flying. But overall, I
Right.
think World is a better executed game. So,
Tails flight isn't too bad just because you tire out.
yeah.
Of course, you couldn't fly in Sonic 2 as Tails. That was something they added to Sonic 3. And Sonic 3, they made accommodations for it.
Yeah.
Same with Mania. Tails flight is interesting just because you're most likely just going to use it to explore.
Yeah.
Or recover from a jump that you missed.
Yeah. Tails and a Sonic Metroidvania hack, perhaps?
Oh, I just thought of another element of platform, like 2D platformer design that I don't much care for.
And what would that be?
Auto-scrolling levels.
Oh no!
Oh, how could we forget that? Oh wait, I know. Mental blocks.
Yeah. God, auto-scrolling levels. They're one part anxiety inducing, one part boring as all hell.
Yeah.
Because they're either going too fast or they're not going fast enough, and there's no in between.
Yeah. That's one thing I kind of appreciate about the Mega Man games is that auto scrollers aren't really a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same in Sonic.
Until Mega Man 8 and then jump, jump, slide, slide.
Yeah.
Jump, jump, slide, slide.
Yeah, as much as I love Mario and Super Mario World specifically, God, those are the worst levels in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what about the levels that aren't necessarily auto-scrollers, but like you sit on a platform and just have to sit there and dodge things? Those aren't as bad as auto-scrollers.
Yeah.
But waiting for that or falling off the platform.
Yeah.
It's like it's also weird that they like put a timer in those levels still.
Yeah.
But like why when the entire pace of the level is dictated by the level?
Yeah,
like
I absolutely
really, what are you gonna do? Stand at the exit pipe at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, I never cared for those style of levels. Especially the ones that like don't just scroll left and right, but they scroll vertically too.
Yeah.
And like you're waiting for them to move.
Why does it
Yup.
feel like you're talking specifically about Butterbridge 1?
I'm probably talking about specifically Butterbridge 1. I'm trying to think of other games that did it that really frustrated me too, because there are other ones. I just can't think of them right now.
Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers 3.
Well, I'm trying to think. There's non-Mario games that do it. I'm trying to think.
Sky Chase is the only one that's popping into my mind. That's kind of a different beast altogether.
Yeah.
Snowboarding section of Ice Cap Zone.
That's not even an auto scroller.
It's sort of forced though because you're stuck on a snowboard.
True.
You don't really have control over your forward or backward movement.
No control. No, I've
Even-
always.
Even Sonic jump slides.
Shall we move on then to our next segment and get on out of here?
Our weekly link to the past.
Yeah, guys, we got a great one again this week.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't even look at the list.
So, on this day, the date of recording of April 2nd, 2023, Final Fantasy VI turns 29 years old in Japan. Released on April the 2nd, 1994.
Huh.
Widely regarded as one of the greatest RPGs of the 16-bit era. And also just one of the best in the Final Fantasy series. Personally, this game doesn't rank that high on my list. It's even lower if, again, I don't cheat and lump 8, 9, and 10 into a single ranking. It's still in my top 10 Final Fantasies, but just there's some things about the game that didn't really strike me very well, that I didn't really care for, that kind of ruined the experience a little bit for me, so I would knock down a few ranks. But aside from that, like, the game does so many unique things. From like the opera scene is probably what it's most famous for.
Yeah.
Like my name, Delicious Morsels, is a reference to this game.
Yeah.
Like when you
Your
first
encounter with Ultros.
Yes. First encounter with Ultros, he refers to the party as delicious morsels to be eaten. Oh my goodness. Like, there's so many iconic moments in this game, like Sabin suplexing a train.
Yeah. Suplex a train.
You can suplex a train. It's just great. Like the
Can
cast of
Brock
characters.
Lesnar do that? I don't think so.
I don't think so. You've got such a excellent cast of characters between Terra and Celis and Locke, Edgar, Sabin. I wish I loved the game more. Maybe once I actually finish it, I'll feel a little bit differently because I don't know. Personally, for me, I feel like it falls apart in the second act of the game where like things happen and your party is kind of split up, broken up, and you have to go reunite them. And I didn't like the way that was handled, but everything up to that point was just stellar. Kefka is, to this day, one of the greatest villains in all of gaming.
Yeah.
He's the type of villain that is just evil for evil's sake, but just the way he does it is so great. Every time the dude's on screen, you're like, oh man, what's he gonna do next?
Yeah.
And then he literally becomes God and you kill him at the end of the game. Like, it's oh my god. Dancing Mad is such a phenomenal final boss theme. I think it's a little bit better than One Winged Angel. Just it taps a little bit more into Uematsu's prog rock roots than where One Winged Angel gets a little bit more orchestral.
Yeah.
It's just Happy birthday, Final Fantasy VI. Next year is going to be the big 3-0. Holy crap. But anyway, that was our link to the past. Now, let's get on out of here. Let's mosey on over to our outro sequence. Lucas, where can they find you outside the podcast?
You can find me on YouTube at Carn-Evil9, that one gaming podcast, where I upload long plays of the games that we play through for our That One Game series. You can also find me on Twitter at Carn_Evil_999. Might be away from there for a few days to try and avoid WrestleMania spoilers because I've already had 2 matches spoiled for me. I'm upset about it. I also may possibly be coming back to a different channel from my past.
Oh.
I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it.
Does it involve tape?
Yes.
Nice. Maybe we'll be holding things together.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Cool. What about Neal? Where can they find Neal outside the podcast?
I am on youtube.com/@VMK9. I also plan to be coming back to that channel as, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/VMK9. We just wrapped up our Ender Dragon battle. So I'm going to be wrapping up the series that led up to that. Or I'm going to be editing that series down into much smaller parts than stream VODs and slowly uploading that to YouTube. But I also plan to release some of my old, mostly finished videos that were on my Mac. I'm going to get those together and rebranded with my new YouTube name and just finally get those out there because they've been sitting on my hard drive for a long time, mostly finished, and I just haven't uploaded them. But yeah, if you want to follow me, and keep track of when I'm doing this, you can follow me on Twitter. I am at IamVMK9. I don't know if case matters, but it is all lower cases.
All right. As for myself, that is youtube.com/deliciousmorsels. And I am also on Twitter at deliciousmorsel. And also, all of my music that I do for That One Game episodes is available on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever else you might stream your music. But I have links to those 2 profiles in the description below. Go check those out. Hit the follow button on those. So that way, whenever my music is uploaded, you get to hear it first. Really appreciate, well, I guess if you're listening to the podcast, then you really get to hear it first, but you get to stream it first officially. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you liked what you heard here today, please be sure hit the subscribe button where it's an option. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify because I guess they like that stuff, especially when it's positive. If it's positive, a 5-star would be really cool. You can hit the like button if that's a thing, and feel free to share this episode with a friend. We're going to be back in a couple weeks with another episode as part of Mario Month here on That One Gaming Podcast. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember,
Play for the Goombas.
Stay for the Koopa Troopas.
Let's go!